So the preferred option, the option that we um, think is best for our business is X Works. And the few key points in terms of why this is the best case is the shift of risk and responsibility. So under this term, this happens almost immediately. As soon as the goods are ready to go from our perspective, we notify the buyer that this is the case, and they have assumed all risk and responsibility of the goods, which requires minimal management from us. Air freight is an important point to recognize. It's very expensive for our products, and will affect our pricing and quoting accordingly. If we provide X Works style pricing, it won't involve any of this, and it gives the buyers the option of potentially saving money, um, as they may not require air freight. They may be able to justify simply sea freighting the goods, which will in turn save them a lot of money and is more practical from our perspective as well. We're a first-time exporter, and that's the most important point, is that the international market is very new to us. And the important thing there is that um, as we take on this new business, um, we need to define the international infrastructure. We need to understand how our products are going to work in the international market. It's custom-made machinery, so it's potentially going to have various duty and other sorts of implications that will vary from country to country, especially oversized goods, and in terms of how they transition to each country, and the applicable um, freight support that you're going to have per each country. It's going to vary from country to country. So being a first-time exporter, Xworks really takes a lot of the responsibility off of us and puts it on the buyers themselves, which is not uncommon for companies when they're acquiring such large pieces of equipment. And international regulations and material control is very is going to be very new to us, and potentially can be very costly with our freight forwarders as well, as they will pass any of these charges on to us and any other responsibility. Xworks really provides that all freight, customs, quarantine um, style demands are actually handled by the buyer themselves. Next, we have the preferred option and its cost implications. So this is potentially one of the most important um, parts of and benefits of Xworks, is that the cost implications are very low. So when we look at our overheads, they're going to be quite minimal. Permits, customs, and any product management and transit management is essentially not going to require any attention from our business, which is a definite reduction in costs, in direct costs actually, um, in that we won't be required to accommodate any of that. This can be very good in one perspective and very poor from another perspective, as it requires our buyers to actually facilitate the transitions themselves. This, in many cases, can be seen as a poor quality service, which is something we have to consider. Next point is competitive pricing. So that goes along with our costs. Allowing us to work under Xworks essentially allows us to provide uniform pricing across the board and uniform packaging, which means that we're going to be very competitive, as we won't have to involve a lot of these contingency and risk management costs that we discussed earlier. A lot of this risk is passed on to the buyer indirectly, um, and uh, and they assume those costs. So what they're going to be looking at when they see a quote from us is essentially the raw product costs, which will be seen as as a very good on an international basis, because they will see that one way or another, this is the cost of the product and there's nothing else involved there. Market accommodation is a very important point, and as I stated earlier, that without having so much history and a strong foundation on the international markets already, having that uniform packaging and that uniform pricing is very advantageous to us, as it allows us to streamline the process and essentially um, manage the material overheads that we may have if we had to accommodate packaging to each different location or state itself. In profits is the underlying concept there, that with this custom with the custom margins that we'd have and the universal packaging, we would really be able um, to forecast very well, as from country to country our margins would be the same. It wouldn't vary, and we wouldn't have to reduce our profit margins to stay competitive. We would really be able to baseline them and help our customers from whichever country have a direct understanding of what they're paying for. The second slide here we have is risk management. This is a very important aspect of why we've chosen the XWorks as the most practical term. New customers and international trading, again, is going to be is going to take some time for us to build our understanding over any requirements that each customer will have. Being able to use XWorks and structuring our payment terms to reflect that, especially for very large products, allows us to ask for these cash upfront or milestone payments in order to cover ourselves. This is very important when dealing with new customers, in order to make sure that A, they are committed to this product, and that B, that we actually have funding to go ahead. As some of the products that we have can range quite high in price, we need to make sure that we cover ourselves from a commercial point of view. Letters of credit is also a very important option that we need to consider in order to build that relationship. And then again, this can kind of be streamlined as we establish those relationships and continue to support each other in that way. Schedule requirements, with the main points being air freight or expedited delivery. Again, the great thing about this is that it's not included in the cost of our goods. The customer will see just our raw costs, and then if they require any air freight or potentially some very costly expedited delivery, they can request that separately. And in terms that allows them to understand that they are paying for that extra freight and extra handling that's involved in order to get these products over to their destination quite quickly. And lastly, we have the way forward. So as discussed earlier, I mean, XWorks is there's a lot of benefits to it, but one of the most important points, and it reflects on across all these points, our development plan, customer differentiation, any legal implications we may have, and the international market in general. As you see there on the bottom right in that image, it outlines a lot of the different states that Australia deals with on a very consistent basis. And given that we are looking to accommodate a very similar scheme of states, it's very important to understand that XWorks doesn't provide the support that a lot of buyers will need. So as part of the principal suggestion, I believe XWorks is the best way to kick off our international business and provide for some entry-level and definitive relationships with our customers. And in a 6 to 24 month basis, I suggest we take a look at exactly how this work is transitioning and what changes we need to make to potentially supply our goods DDP, with the principal idea being that they will have a full, not only quality product, but they will have the quality service that they need, and will have an outlined understanding of what the pricing is for, and that once they purchase this product, they have no obligation and no stress in terms of having a timely delivery with all paperwork, be it export or import, sorted from a commercial perspective. And we can provide that 100% quality inspection as well as 100% freight process without any issues. And finally, we open up to the floor if there's any questions or issues or considerations. Lastly, here we have just a quick reference list of where a lot of this information can be found and can be accessed in terms of making the argument we've made with XWorks. I hope you've enjoyed the case, and if you have any questions, please go ahead.